So let's turn to one more example, and to give you a deeper sense of the use of technology rubric, and that's Great Train Internet. And, a final example, and I'm going to ask Jenny to start to describe that example for us and what the project is, so that people can start to decide whether they think on the use of ICT rubric that it would be coded.
Sure.
Actually, Maria, it's Tracy. I just want to interrupt because I'm sorry if I was the only one that missed it, maybe because there was some background noise, but what was the actual, correct scoring according to the researchers?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's, so, when I run these, I try not to emphasize what the actual correct score is, because that's really not the point. The correct score, the real point is to get teachers talking about and debating whether it's a 2 or a 3 or a 4. Among the people who have looked at this example in depth and designed the learning activity over and over and over again, there is some degree of consensus that it's a 4. Because students, it would be very hard to gather. It's certainly a use of technology for knowledge construction, because they're analyzing and synthesizing data that they gather, and it would be very tough to gather that kind of current information without the use of technology today. But they're not designing a technology product, and so it doesn't reach a 5.
Thank you.
So let's turn to Jenny, and if you could describe for us what you think Great Train Internet, what the project is, the learning activity is.
So again, the students were focusing on a particular book, and it was 14-year-old students. And this, to ensure that the students understood the content of the book a little better, the teacher got the students to do some research, directed them to some websites to have a look at, and asked them to break up into groups to actually look at what, say, the role of women was like in the 18th century, what crime was like in the 18th century education. And you can see the number of groups that were set up there. So with that task in mind, the students were asked to organise some information to provide back to the class about their particular piece of research. It was restricted to a particular the Victorian era, which was from 1837 to 1901. The teacher got them to work in groups. They certainly were required to use technology. She allowed them to use specific pieces of software, which was an interesting part of the instruction. The students were asked to integrate their information, interpret the information as they produced their products, and in the end, the students were also asked to put together a presentation around PowerPoint or anything. They all used PowerPoint in the end to present their findings. And interesting, in the comments that the teacher provided, she noted that the students only went to the websites that she told them to go to. And one of the questions that in the reflection of the construction of the information using technology, the teacher has actually said no, they didn't make choices about using technology. They actually did what she told them to do and didn't go much outside that briefing. So they constructed the knowledge, but really there's a question mark about if ICT was required. Maybe it could have done by books more efficiently, certainly by using the internet. And then there's the question of the product as well. So from what the students were asked to do, the age of the students, and then you look at the product that they actually delivered, it's interesting how people might code this.
That's right, that's right. So there's a lot of complexity to think through in examining this learning activity, to think through, is technology required? Is it being used for knowledge construction? Is Is it, can the work be done without technology, and then the end product? So we're seeing a lot of different coding scores here. And if you are running a 21st century learning design workshop or session, it's actually really quite good to have a lot of people with different opinions, because then you can debate it, and it's through that debate, through that dialogue, that teachers really start to think hard about the learning design, and it's always in that discussion that the aha moments for teachers, the real learning, takes place. And as you think this through, I want to comment on some of the talk that's been going on through shared notes. There's some comments here about asking teachers to consider how they would assess the work, and that it's in how the assignment as a whole is designed and how it's evaluated, the student work is evaluated. And I've said this before, but I want to really emphasize it, that is a critical part of learning activity design, is deciding, and that can be done, by a teacher, or in a lot of places now that's being co-constructed with students, where teachers and students work together to create the success criteria by which work would be assessed. And that is that entire topic of assessment, and being clear about what the learning goals are and how the work will be assessed, is part of the self-regulation rubric. And some of these rubrics are really powerful for really shaping very high-quality learning experiences. So coming back to Great Train Internet here, it looks like we're getting consensus around a 4 score. And we haven't really given you enough time, and I completely acknowledge this, to really look at the learning activity examples in a lot of depth. But here, those of us who've looked at this in more depth believe that really this should be coded probably as 3, because they are using technology, websites, and other computer sources to learn about the Victorian era, and they had to analyze the information they found in a way that is real knowledge construction. But technology was not really necessary. Students could have done this work by looking at books in the library or print encyclopedia. The use of IT was not fundamentally necessary to the project in the way it was in the Olympic site selection, where it was immediate data from around the world. This was more historical information that could be accessed by traditional books and libraries in a different way. So that's the thinking there.